Yes, so Artadi as a family business is focused on creating wines that define and show the character of our location, which are the villages of La Guardia and El Villar, and of course a lower intervention in terms of vine growing and farming our vineyards, so that again that unique character of our valley and our villages of La Guardia and El Villar are shown. There are many differences between all the single vineyard wines. We actually call them single plots. So our main soil composition in our region are loam soils as a basis, and then we find some loam soils that are have slightly higher content in sand, others higher content in clay or silt. So of course the soil composition has a big influence, but also the exposition. We have horizontal valleys going from the Sierra Cantabria to the River Ebro that have very important influence. Of course the winds, so the entire clima, that like the French would call it, very important. And because then in our way of producing the single plots, our vinification process does not change from one wine to the other. Actually, you've chosen two vineyards to have one very similar component, which is their undersoil. So the subsoil is quite high in sand. However, the first horizon of the soil in San Lázaro has a higher content on silt and clay, whereas in El Pisón, we're purely on a loam soil. They both have very high content on limestone, but also their exposition is very different. San Lázaro, we're more on a flat vineyard, so we have sun at all orientations throughout the entire day, whereas El Pisón has a south exposure. It's more like it's not an amphitheater, because then it wouldn't be a south exposure, but it does have a bit of a southeast exposure, which is slightly cooler. Also, El Pisón has a much deeper soil than San Lázaro. In San Lázaro, we must be around 1.5 meters, whereas some parts of El Pisón are over 2 meters depth. For me, the character of San Lázaro is never ending, which in a way that's similar to El Pisón. It's very long. It has a silkiness to it that is very elegant, very attractive. Definitely for me the most differentiated single plot one that we have. Whereas El Pisón, it's like a hidden powerfulness. You need to look for it, and the more time you give it, the bigger it becomes, but with an elegant minerality that just carries on and carries on. It's like a fusion between something that's very fragile and elegant, and at the same time, but with a lot of strength and power. And El Pisón is very different. Also, El Pisón always has these earthy notes, more on the powerful side, that we don't necessarily find on San Lázaro. Yeah. Also, a very tough question to answer. I cannot not say El Pisón, which I find, our wise wine, that it's always telling us wonderful stories. And depending on the moment, Valdejines can be more on the tension, the electricity. We have Quintanilla, which on some occasions with friends, more fun wine. La Olla with its velvety tannins and straightforwardness. Alcarratil with its structure, and it's very directional, but very combined, very compact, very concentrated. They're all different. I think for a different occasion, we can enjoy all of them. For now, we're a little bit uncertain on how this is going to affect the vineyards in the long run. I like to believe that nature has always had capacity to adapt to changing situations. We're taking measures on when the different stages are happening in the vineyard, but for now we're not making major changes. We still think Tempranillo is evolving correctly. It's true with from in the last 10 years, maybe we're harvesting 2 weeks before. but it's not as alarming yet. In order for us, we want to carry on with the tradition. Tempranillo has been for hundreds and hundreds of years. In La Guardia, it's a very tough decision to make, to suddenly say Tempranillo is not it. We have seen that probably the vineyards, maybe with west exposure, are suffering more, that vineyards with south or east exposure are able to survive better the drought and such extreme heat conditions, but not to make drastic decisions yet. We cannot deny the vast diversity that we have in terms of soils and clima and expositions. So it is a reality. Nowadays we have more and more colleagues that are talking about different locations, different parajes, and for us it's definitely the way to add value to a region, but it's definitely not the only way to add value. We hope that more wineries and producers will think and believe that that's the way to add value, and together I'm sure we will manage to go in that direction.
Thank you very much. Your wines are fantastic. It was a pleasure to visit your winery and to speak to you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure having you.